It's a lot of songs that I write have to do with sleep because it's something that is so important. And for whatever reason, there's a lot of people who struggle with finding the ability to sleep.
Here, Tyler is talking about literal sleep. But, as we see highlighted in yellow here, he uses sleep in other ways throughout his music. In this video, we're going to talk about the times that Tyler uses sleep figuratively.
That's a good question.
Are you asleep right now?
No.
You asleep right
Yeah.
now? I would say it's not a sandwich, and if you think it is, then you're asleep.
It's a weird example, but Tyler's just used the word asleep in the way we might use unaware, or maybe out of touch. And that's pretty much how Tyler describes it in Car Radio.
It is faith and it's sleep. We need to pick one, please, because faith is to be awake, and to be awake is for us to think, and for us to think is to be alive. And I will try with every rhyme to come across like I am dying to let you know you need to try to think.
He makes this comparison to death and sleep in Message Man as well.
Hope you're dead, cause how could you sleep at a time like this?
He tells the person that the song is addressed to they must be dead, because how could they be so unthinking? Death and sleep are also equated in Much to the Sea.
The line will go to the ocean pier and walk right off into the sea. And then we fall asleep.
These people aren't actually dying. It's a metaphor for the way they're spending their lives. They choose to stick to conformity, fall in line, and they experience a metaphorical death. They're sleeping now. A great example of two different ways of using the word sleep, both literal and figurative, is the song Isle of Flightless Birds.
Please think about why you can't sleep in the evening, and please don't be afraid of what your soul is really thinking. If you decide to live by what you think's wrong and what's right, believe me, you'll begin to wish you were sleeping. Your weeping will creep in your head and you'll cry.
Now, in the first instance, Tyler is talking about literal sleep. Please think about why you can't sleep in the evening. It's very straightforward. In the second instance, he says, if you decide to live by what you think is wrong and what's right, believe me, you'll begin to wish you were sleeping. This is figurative sleep, like the opposite of woke. Your weeping will begin to creep in your head and you'll cry. You will suffer without belief. And Tyler is a big advocate for belief.
I have your attention. Now! Something I want to tell you. Now! Pick what you believe right! Now! Understand what you believe right! Now! Pick what you believe and worship what you believe right! Now! Whatever it is, it's more godly than you! That's all I'm saying. Right! Now! Thank you for coming!
That is what he's talking about in Isle of Flightless Birds. Picking what you believe, understanding what you believe, and worshiping what you believe. But Tyler himself struggles with this as well. In Anathema, he says, I'm calling my father, am I screaming to an empty sky? As in, is the thing he believes really there? Is the sky empty? Is there no God above? Tyler says, no way. One half of my heart is free. As in, half of his heart does have faith, but the other half is asleep. And it's interesting that he uses sleep, because sleep is something you can wake up from. So let's back things up a little bit and look at this quote from 21 Pilots 2011.
We don't want to get on stage and tell people what they should believe. We would love to just start at the idea, the very simple idea of trying to give, to wake people up a little bit in these kids, to wake people up a little bit and
You were asleep. Time to wake up.
In these kids that may be in a home that is kind of forcing them into a direction or thinking a certain way. Not to rebel or anything, but make it your own. We want you to think.
Faith is to be awake, and to be awake is for us to think, and for us to think is to be alive. And I will try with every rhyme to come across like I am dying to let you know you need to try to think.
We want you to try to figure out these questions.
In this interview, he's still following the same formula. They want to wake people up a little bit. They want you to think, to find out what you believe, and ultimately stay alive. He also threw in there, make it your own. So what is the point of all this? My point is, the way that they use the word sleep when they're not talking about literal sleep is consistent. It means unaware, out of touch, unthinking, and the impetus inside of that is to wake up to thinking, wake up to, if possible, belief. Just believe in something. And believe it or not, this is all actually just a lead up to me talking about Oh Misbeliever. Misbeliever is sleeping in the figurative way.
Oh, misbeliever, my pretty sleeper, your twisted mind is like snow on the road.
So her twisted mind is dangerous.
Your shaking shoulders prove that it's colder inside your head than the winter of death.
Her shoulders are shaking, she's crying. There's no actual cold.
I will tell you I love you, but the muffs on your ears will cater your fears.
He'll tell her that he loves her, but these metaphorical earmuffs stop her from hearing him. This is why she's a sleeper. He can't reach her. She's out of touch. He puts her in this imaginary environment of snow and cold to describe the ways that she's out of touch, kind of in a little bit of danger in her own head. Now there's a whole different video to be made talking about cold and growing older. But I just wanted to touch on Oh Misbeliever. It's not just about a girl that's pretty when she sleeps, it's about a girl that's sleeping. What else do we got? We don't believe what's on TV. This is a specific kind of sleep, a dreamer's sleep. Don't want to know who I would be when I wake up from a dreamer's sleep. So he's not talking about one night, the span of one night sleeping. He's talking about waking up from his dreams. You know, the thing that you aspire to may not be the thing that you literally dream about. He's a dreamer in terms of, you know, his ideas about what he wants his success to look like, and that presupposes a kind of sleep, right? A kind of ignorance that they've talked about before.
And we've talked about this. It would be, knowing what we know now, it would be hard to do what we did again, because there is a level of sort of optimistic ignorance that we really had.
Stupidity, really, kind of.
That's that dreamer's sleep. What's last? Levitate. Levitate has two examples of sleep. One is sleeping on the freezing ground. Sleeping on the ground? Literal. Probably. The other one is cowards only come through when the hour's late and everyone's asleep, mind you. And we only have 40 seconds left in this video, so I think we're gonna have to save Levitate for its own. Because it really comes down to who is Tyler addressing when he says, come down, come down. If you know, you tell me in the comments. I would love to know. So that's that on that for sleep in the figurative sense, meaning out of touch, ignorant, dreaming, and the responsibility to wake up, to think, to believe.